What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, thinking about the new duo between Russell Westbrook and James Harden and how their duo matches up against other duos in the league. So let's see what they have to say about that.
You got dynamic duos all over the place as opposed to triple threats. This is a dynamic duo that can rival anybody's dynamic duo in the NBA. I love it. My only question, Jalen, is about Mike D'Antoni. It ain't about these players.
I agree with Stephen A. This is fantastic for the NBA for all of the reasons you just acknowledged, but also for a level of superstar power in Houston that creates a level of relevancy for a team that lost to the Warriors, actually, for the last 5 years. So they're not far off. They didn't have to give up a lot in this deal to acquire Russell. They got more salary. They got another year, but they still kept Eric Gordon. He's still on their squad. They still have Tucker. They still have Capella. So the core group of their team is returning. They're going to be one of the top teams in the Western Conference.
So I definitely agree with both of them. I think the Houston Rockets, they were a top team last year, and they're definitely going to be a top team this year. And I think they've actually gotten better by getting rid of Chris Paul and adding Westbrook. So when I first heard about this, I was kind of thinking, that might not work out because they're both so ball dominant. But I think if Russell Westbrook and James Harden can go ahead and figure out a way to work with each other and to stop being ball hogs and to share and to play as a team, I think they can do some big time damage in the Western Conference, some big time damage. But they have to buy into the system. But I think right now they're old enough and they realize that, they've done everything they can do for individual accolades. They've both been MVPs. Now it's time to win a ring. And the best way to win a ring is to play as a team and include the players around you and trust the players around you. So I think at this point, I think they're smart enough that they can realize that, and they're going to play as a system. And they're going to figure out a way that they can both share time and be effective. And as far as the coach, I think the coach needs to change his game up and fix up the way he enforces the system, especially with James Harden, because James Harden is good to be a ball hog and just do whatever he wants to do and not stick to the system, stick to the plan. Same thing with Westbrook, but James Harden is the original guy there. He's been there longer than Westbrook. So I think the coach really needs to jump on James Harden and have him buy into the new system of sharing the ball and sharing the wealth and playing as a team. So I don't know. Let's continue.
I have to address the Oklahoma City Thunder for a second.
Okay.
If you're a team if you're a fan of the NBA and you want to watch some emotional homecomings this year, get Thunder season tickets. Because when you look down at the faces for the road team, you can look at Kevin Durant, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Victor Oladipo, a picture of Serge Ibaka holding the championship trophy. Like, they've done a lot to help aid some teams across the league. If the Clippers are calling me and giving me a 24 to 48 hour window to trade Paul George, I don't know if I'm necessarily getting it done that fast. And I know they were able to accomplish it. And we're going to look at all of the players that they were able to acquire. And first round picks are great, but late first round picks aren't necessarily the best. In the last 4 years of the draft, there hasn't been a guy taken 25 or later making all-star team. So while Sam Presti did a terrific job of acquiring these assets, and we're going to talk about how many picks they have until 2016, maybe he and Billy Donovan know something I don't know, but will they still be there at that point in time to actually draft a team? So for the Thunder fans, I feel bad. Losing a guy like Russ and PG, who actually both re-signed to be there.
Well, I don't know. It does look kind of bad for OKC. Because they've had how many MVPs they've had on that team? James Harden MVP, Kevin Durant MVP, Russell Westbrook MVP, Paul George was working on being MVP last year. So they had a dynamic team, a super team, but they just didn't know how to control it. And as far as the homecoming for all those guys coming back and playing OKC, so are you trying to say that the OKC fans are gonna be happy to see Kevin Durant come back when he's won a ring, or happy to see James Harden and Russell Westbrook and all those other guys? Because I don't know if they're going to be necessarily happy to see them. They know they were there, but I don't know if it's going to be a happy homecoming, because some of those championships and deep playoff runs could have been for them if those guys hadn't left, because everybody pretty much does better once they leave OKC. So I don't know. Let's continue.
Let me say this to you, Jalen. First of all, thank you for bringing this up, because I was going to go there if you didn't. Let me tell you something right now. I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear in what I'm about to say. If I were the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not firing Sam Presti. Sam Presti is a damn good executive. He's a tremendous talent evaluator. They've done great with drafts, etc. There's no knock against him. But I have said this, and I said this to somebody last night in Oklahoma City, and I'm going to say it here on national television. If this were any other executive that had Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Victor Oladipo. I mean, you just look at the talent that they've had, and not one single NBA championship to point to. We're going to ask some questions about that executive. And it's time that we do that about Sam Presti. Because here's the reality of the situation. Again, damn good at what he does. Doesn't deserve to lose his job. He definitely accumulated picks or whatever. But I'll tell you something to point to your point, Jalen. Guess what? What's the chances if I ask Jalen Rose right now to sit there with all of these picks? Jalen, what is the chances that they're going to find a Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook with all of these picks?
Less than 5%.
Who's betting their money on that?
Less than 5%.
I wouldn't bet that money. And sometimes, you just got lucky, and they got lucky by getting all those guys. And you can probably guarantee that that's not going to happen again. And I almost say that won't happen again to any other team for a while. They just got extremely lucky to get all those players and have them be on pretty much on the same team at one time. And, hindsight's 2020, because who knows? No one knew James Harden was going to turn out to be what he was. I mean, some people know, you could see it, but nobody knew to the extent of what he was going to be. Kevin Durant, you knew he was going to be good, but you thought he'd probably be able to do it in OKC, but things didn't work out. He bounced. So, I don't know. Like I said, hindsight is 2020 when you're on the other side. But as far as their draft picks coming up, even if they have all these first-round draft picks, I do not think they're going to be able to mimic what they did and what they had. So, I don't know. Let's continue.
And if you look back at all of those draft picks, Stephen, the last guy that they picked that was an actual all-star is Russell Westbrook. Yeah. And he committed to be there. He recruited Paul George to stay there. And then a week later, you end up trading both of those players. I really believe what this is the Oklahoma City Thunder looking at their roster saying, while we do have talent, and along with Steven Adams as well, who possibly is going to get moved, we don't feel like we're the favorite. So why pay luxury tax? That's what I see happen in OKC. Well, that happened with James Harden.
Okay, so I don't think you make those type of moves. I would definitely hold on to Russell Westbrook because that's all you guys have. That's all you guys have. And Steven Adams. I would just try to maintain, keep those guys there, and see if you can bring in another star and maybe try to run it back, see if you can make another run. I mean, you've had all these stars come through there anyways, so what's another one? You got to hold on to something. I want to let Westbrook grow. I won't let him go. But I don't know. Like I said, they must know something that everybody else doesn't know to go and give up all their stars, except for, Steven Adams, he's still there, and put all their eggs in a basket with the drafts. Because like I said, I seriously doubt they're going to be able to draft those type of players ever again. I seriously doubt they're going to get that type of bunch together. So I don't know. Let's continue.
That's how he
for $4 million, Jalen. For $4 million.
Yes, sir.
Remember, let me interrupt. Just so the audience is clear. With James Harden, it wasn't even $4 million a year. It was $4 million. A grand total of $4 million they didn't want to pay, and that's why they ended up moving James Harden.
And
so that is terrible, but again, hindsight's 2020. Nobody really knew that James Harden was going to turn into the type of beast that he is. Nobody knew that. So I mean, you can't really kick yourself about that. You can, but it's just who would have known? Who would have known? So let's continue.
You have that level of talent in a small market. The goal is to acquire players while they're under contract and or draft really well and try to get those guys to sign. They were actually able to accomplish both. So if you can't get Paul George and Russell Westbrook to run it back against a team like the Portland Trail Blazers, who didn't panic. Remember, the Blazers lost in the first round 2 straight years, kept the same core intact. Made it to the Western Conference Finals this year. So for the Thunder not to give it another opportunity, that was a little head scratching that you could trade 2 top-tier players in less than a week when this entire season we almost waited for Anthony Davis to get traded. It was really mind-boggling how this went down so fast.
I somewhat disagree with you there in this respect, Jalen. A star that is Paul George, who just finished averaging 28 and 8, has his representatives come into your office and ask to be moved. So if he wants out, right, then, okay, all right, we can't have him here because he says he wants out. We could have him, but that's not good for our culture. So we're going to let him go, okay? We get 5 first-round picks along with 2 players in Danilo Gallinari and obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then you've got a guy in Russell Westbrook who obviously would compromise the growth and maturation of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if he was on that squad because you want him to be your point guard. But more importantly, Russell Westbrook has been there for 11 years. He's committed to the organization. He's been there for you. And now he's saying to you, excuse me, you're clearly rebuilding. We don't have a chance to compete for the championship. I might want out. So I'm not going to fault Sam Presti for that. What I will say is this. At the end of the day, Sam Presti deserves our respect because of the job that he's shown he is capable of doing. But when it comes to players, what are we going to ask, Charlie? What are we going to ask, Jalen? Where's the chip? And I'm saying with Sam Presti, what executive do you know in the history of sports who has had that level of talent at his disposal and does not have one single championship to show for it? I'm telling you, take your...
It does look bad. It looks very, very bad. And they've been looking bad for a while because they've had a lot of superstars that they should have at least made the finals more than they did and at least gotten at least one ring within the past, 8 years. If with all the superstars that they've had, all the MVPs that they had, they should definitely have gotten at least one ring out of that. But like I said, hindsight's 2020 with James Harden. He never knew how good he was going to be. You know, Kevin Durant was kind of tired of playing with Westbrook and things weren't really working out. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know. But I don't think they're ever going to be able to make that up. And I definitely want to let Westbrook go. I would have kept him. You got to have something. You got to have something, even if you're rebuilding. And the same thing with Paul George. I don't think I would let Paul George go either because it's only been 1 year. He may ask to leave, but I would probably try and force it on him. Like, look, it's only been 1 year. We can make some adjustments this year over the summer and see how things work out. And if things don't work out next year, then we'll go ahead and we'll discuss having you leave or do whatever it is. But I would definitely hold on to both of those guys because I know you're rebuilding, but you at least want to have some type of base when you're rebuilding. So I don't know. Let's continue.
Time, I will wait because I don't know of any executive that has had that much time at that much talent at their disposal and does not have one single championship to show for it in a decade.